Dream big, Diego. All right, let's take a look at number 11 just to make sure that we have this solid. So again, the slope-intercept form of a line, every line anywhere has an equation. An equation is essentially just like a map telling you how to put that line onto a coordinate plane, right? So in the one that we're looking at now, we're looking at slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b, where we remember that m stands for what? Slope. Okay. I don't know why it's m. I did some serious Googling last year and could not figure out why m stood for slope. The only reason that someone gave was that the word for slope in French starts with an M, kind of sounds like mountain or something like that, and so they use M. I don't know why they don't use S, but it's not. M stands for slope. So M is slope and B is the what? Y-intercept. B is the y-intercept, which means what again? Yeah, where you plot the first point is where it crosses what? The y-axis. All right, and that's called the y-intercept. So like Ashley said, that's where you plot your first point. So in this equation right here, this is m, and this is b. So that means where do we plot our first point?
3.
At 3, at positive 3 on the y-axis. So we go up to 3 and plot our point. All right, and it's always the y-intercept. It's never the x-intercept, so it should always be on the y-axis. And then our slope is 4. But usually slope is written as a fraction. If it's not written as a fraction, what do we do? Put it over 1. Always over positive 1 or negative 1? Positive 1. So it's always over positive 1. So that means our slope is 4 over 1, which means from here, what am I going to do? Go up 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then over 1. So over right here. Over 1. If I didn't want to go up because it goes off my graph, what could I do? If I go down, which way do I have to go? Left. So I go down for left 1 because that's the same thing and it's on this line. Okay? So that's how we plot y equals mx plus b. All right? So y equals mx plus b always works as long as it's in that format. It's really easy to graph when it's in that format because it's identifying the y-intercept for you and it's identifying the slope for you. And when I say it's easy to graph, that requires that you remember what? The formula, and also remember what m and b are. Okay? So remember that m is the one that goes with the, m is the slope and it goes with which part of the equation? It has to be with the x, all right? Which is why in this one, number 9, that one doesn't have a slope because there is no x. So if it doesn't have a slope, what does that mean about the line? It's a horizontal line. A line with 0 slope is horizontal. So that means it's y equals 3, means it goes through 3 horizontally. All right? What if it were x equals something? What if it were x equals 5? What do you think that would be? If y equals 3 goes that way, what do you think x equals lines look like? Brendan, what do you think? It's similar. Alejandra? Yeah, it's a vertical line. All right, because you have there is an x, so there's technically every time on this equation, like if I say x equals 5, that means x equals 5 right here. It means x equals 5 right here, right here, right here. X is always 5, so it makes a vertical line. What's the slope of a vertical line? Undefined. All right, undefined. So there is it's undefined. So if it's an x equals, it makes a vertical line. If it's a y equals, it makes a horizontal line. Okay, so that's slope-intercept form. That's what we talked about yesterday. Today we're going to talk about another form of an equation of a line. And the reason that we have two is because sometimes it's easier to do one, sometimes it's easier to do the other. They both identify a line. So what we're talking about today is point-slope form. And point-slope form, yesterday you looked at a couple where you had to plot like this, one point and a slope, and then you had to try to figure out the equation of the line. So let's take a look at that now. How would I plot this? What would I do if I wanted to put this on a graph? What would I do to start out here? What do you think? I know there are more people in here than just these two. I'm looking at you. Where would I start? What do you think? Guillermo? Graph the point. How come I can't start with the slope? Why can't I start with the slope? Brendan, what do you think?
Because you don't know if it's proportional or not.
What do you mean proportional?
If it doesn't go through the origin or not.
I don't know where it goes through, right? So I can't just say, well, my slope is 3. Okay, that's great, but I don't know. That means I'm going up 3, right? But I don't know where I'm going up from. So I need a starting point. So I have to start right here. So Guillermo said, plot the point. Where is 1, 1? From the origin, I go over 1 and then up 1. Here's my point 1, 1. And then from there, what do I do with my slope? Now I can use my slope. So I put it over 1, and then I do what? Go up 3, 1, 2, 3, right 1, because it's a positive 1. So that's where that line would be. Do I have a y-intercept there? Yeah, there is one, right? It crosses somewhere. Do I know what it is? Do I care what it is? Do I need it? No, I don't need it. This is just the same as what you did, except instead of starting from the y-intercept, you start from whatever point they give you. All right? The slope is always just a set of directions. It's telling you which way to go. Go up 3 and then go right 1. When would you go down?
When it's negative.
When it's negative. When would you go left? When the bottom is negative. All right? So if the top is negative, you go down. If the bottom is negative, you go left. Otherwise, you always go this way. If my slope is positive, that means my line should be going which way? Uphill or downhill? Uphill. Should be going uphill. Like you're skiing uphill would be hard. All right, so who can come plot this one for me? Who can come plot this one for me? You've got a point and a slope here. Who can plot this one for me? I know, I see. But I'm sitting in a room with 22 people. And I got the same 3 people raising their hands. It's 22 very smart people.
I just want to do it. It's fun. It's fun.
Angel. Any color you want. Good start. So what's the first thing Angel did there? Keep going. He plotted the point, and the point was 3, negative 2. So x is 3 and y is negative 2. And then what's your slope telling you? Negative. So this is negative 1 over 2. So that means I'm going to go. Okay. All right. What did Angel do there? That's right. What did he do there? If I looked at this, I would have thought I would go which way? Down, and then 2 to the right. What did Angel do? He just flipped it. So instead of going down, he went up. And then if he went up, he had to go to the left. All right? So what Angel did is instead of looking at it as negative 1 over 2, he said it was 1 over negative 2. Are these any different? No, it's all on the same line. It just depends on which way you want to go. So it doesn't really matter. Great job. Thank you. All right. So that's the line right there. Now, if I ask you to give me the equation of that line, if I ask you to give me the equation of that line, so y equals mx plus b, how would you do that? How would you do that?
You would do.
Ashley, what do you think?
Y equals negative 1/2 x plus 3 over negative 2.
Where are you getting that number? Is that the y-intercept? What's the y-intercept again? Where it crosses the y-axis. So I need to look at this and I need to figure that out. Does that look like it's a whole number? Maybe, maybe not. It kind of looks like negative 1. It kind of doesn't, so we'd have to kind of guess. So then I would plug in something to figure it out. I don't want to do that. I don't want to guess. I don't want to do more work. So we have what's called the point-slope equation of a line. And the point-slope equation of a line is exactly like the slope-intercept formula. It's an equation of a line, so it's basically a map that tells you where it goes, except instead of using slope and y-intercept, it uses slope and then any point that you know on the graph. So our previous one was the slope was negative 1 over 2, and we had 3, -2 as a point. So instead of trying to figure out what the y-intercept is, we can plug this into the slope form of a line, the point slope form, and this would just look like this. So here's our point, 3, -2. So instead of y1, what's the y value in this point? 2 is the y, and this is the x. So here's my x1, y1, and I'm going to plug that in. So I say y minus -2 equals, what's my slope? -1/2. X minus, what's my x value? 3. All right, and that's it. That's point slope form. So that's a different form of the equation of a line. Instead of y equals mx plus b, it's y minus y equals mx minus x. This should say minus, I'm sorry. That should say minus. Is that what you're going to ask, Angel? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's minus for both of them. Okay, so why do we need 2 equations of a line? Because how many of you guys yesterday, you raised your hand, how many of you had heard y equals mx plus b? Most of you, right? How many of you guys have seen this one, y minus y equals mx minus x? Definitely less of you, all right? The whole point of this is that if we are given a point and a slope, it's easier to use this format. If we're given the slope and the intercept, it's easier to use y equals mx plus b. Both of them will work. It just depends on what you're given. All right, so the equation of a line in this format, again, is y minus y1 equals mx minus x1, where y and x are whatever the point is, and m is the slope. So for example, in number 1, how would I write this in point slope form? What's -3? Is that my x or y? So that's my x1. What's 0? y1. And what's this? Slope is what letter? M. Okay, so then I just plug them in. So that formula would be y minus what? 0 equals 5/2 x minus -3. And this minus a negative becomes a plus. You could leave it as minus a negative. It doesn't matter. All right? Try that with 2 and 3 at your seats right now. Try it with 2 and 3. Can somebody come put 2 up here? Alejandra, and then Guillermo, do you want to do 3? What? That's fine. Perfect. Y minus 2 equals -7/1, x minus 4. Did she have to write -7/1? No, she could have left it. All right, Guillermo. It's not, just do it exactly like you would have done the other one. Mm-hmm. 0 times what? 0 parentheses. Nope. Perfect. All right, so Guillermo wrote this as y minus -3, which again, we could simplify y minus -3 to what? Y plus 3 equals 0, and then he made this x plus 2. All right, could I simplify this more? Yes, absolutely. I could do 0 times this and get 0. All right? But is this in point slope form? Yeah, so that's fine. So again, point slope form is just another way of writing the equation of a line. If I gave you one in point slope form, y minus 3 equals 2/3 x minus 7, what point could you tell me is on this line? What point is on that line? What's the x value? 7? What's the y value? 3? Why is it positive 3 but not negative 3? Yeah, because it's a minus, so then it's not a negative sign. And then what's my slope? 2/3. Could you graph that then? Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so point slope form is very similar to slope intercept form, except in this case, it's easier when you have a point and a slope. Okay, go, Angel. Hang on, go. Yeah, just leave it like that. That's point slope form, so you're done. If it asks for it in point slope form, that's what you do. Okay, go do these 6. Okay, what? That you can't really hear your voice that well, but if you can hear me saying your name. Yeah, if you talked really loud, but it would be kind of awkward for people if you just start yelling. Okay. Okay, no. All right. No. Okay, so yesterday we had a problem, or we took a look at a problem that said something like, if I give you a point, like 3, 5, and a slope of 2, how would I take that? If you put it in point slope form, what is it? What would this be in point slope form? Y minus 5, 2. Okay, what if I wanted that in slope intercept form? That's in point slope form. What if I wanted it in slope intercept form? Brendan, what do you think? Isolate y, right? Because slope intercept form is just y equals mx plus b. So the only difference is that y is isolated. So then how do I isolate y here? Order of operations. So what do you have to do first? I can't add the 5 until I get rid of the parentheses. How do I get rid of these parentheses? What do I have to do? Distribute the 2. So I'm going to do the distributive property with 2, which means what am I really doing? Just multiplying it by everything inside the parentheses, right? What's 2 times x? 2x. And what's 2 times negative 3? Good. Okay. Now, Emily, what can I do? Where do I add the 5? To the 6. How come I add it to the 6 and not the 2x? The x has a variable and the 6 doesn't, so I want to combine it with something that doesn't have a variable. So what happens to this one on the left? That's gone, so now I've isolated y. I still just have 2x, but now what's negative 6 plus 5? Negative 1. Now am I in point slope, or now I went from point slope form to slope intercept form. All right? So if you are given something like this and asked to write it in slope intercept form, first, plug it into point slope form, and second, isolate y. Brendan.
Is there a way to go from slope intercept to point slope?
Yes. Do you want to do it? All right. Yeah, you could do it. What you'd have to do is, I don't know, the easiest way to do it would probably be to graph it and then figure out, like, use the y-intercept as a point. So you could do this. Like, I could say, all right, if the y-intercept is negative 1, then that means when x is 0, y is negative 1. So then I could write that in point slope form. I could say y minus negative 1 equals 2x minus 0. And that would be point slope form. So yeah, you could do it like that. You never will. Not for me anyway. All right? So you will only ever have to go from point slope form to slope intercept form. So again, plug it into point slope form and then turn it into slope intercept form, and that's how you can get it into slope intercept form. So what if you have this? What if you have all right. I want this in slope-intercept form. So what's the first thing you do? Put it into point-slope form. So what would this be in point-slope form? Okay. So now I would need to do what? Distribute the, okay, so I've got to distribute the 1/2. No big deal. Y minus 8 equals, what's 1/2 times x? 1/2 x. Okay. What do I do here?
You're basically dividing.
I'm basically dividing by 2, because taking half of something is like dividing by 2. Or if I want to do the multiplication, it's like 1/2 times -4 over what? 1. There's nothing there, so you're doing it over 1. So you just multiply straight across, and you get, what's 1 times -4? And what's 2 times 1? What's -4 divided by 2? -2. So minus 2. And then what do I do with the 8? Plus 8 plus 8. So y equals 1/2 x. What's -2 plus 8? Positive or -6? Positive 6. Good. All right. That's why you have calculators. Don't forget that because a lot of times I know you guys and I love you guys, but when you see fractions, what do? You freak out. But there's no reason to do that. Don't run. There's nowhere to go. You smack into the door. You can't leave. You can't. No, those windows don't open. All right. No, because then you have to pay for it. You don't want to do that. My YouTube channel is getting weird right now because we're having a weird conversation about jumping through windows. Okay. All right. So, can you do this on a calculator? 1/2 times 4. Yes, absolutely. Okay? You can do it on a calculator. Or you can remember that you guys are great, powerful mathematicians, and you can just do 1/2 times 4 over 1. All right? Don't freak out just because there's a fraction there. Either do it on a calculator or just write it out and do it pretty quickly. All right? For the most part, it will be easily divisible. Yes?
Yeah, isn't it faster if you just draw a quick graph?
So that's another way to do it. So walk me through how you do that.
First you draw a graph.
I'm going to draw a quick graph.
And then you point the plot.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay.
You just do the rise over run.
Until you what?
Until you find another point.
Until you find the...
Another point on the graph.
Okay, so if my slope is up 1 over 2. That's still not going to help me write it in slope-intercept form? Yes, okay. So what Brendan said is, couldn't you just do this and go backwards? So go down 1 over 2, down 1 over 2, until you get to the y-axis, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And yes, that will absolutely work, and you could find the y-intercept. Here's my issue with that. I don't draw that well. Here it happened to work out okay, but sometimes I would do that and I'd cross right here. Do I know what that number is? No. And so it's hard to find. So if your y-intercept is not a whole number, which sometimes it won't be, it makes it a little bit difficult. By all means, yes, you could do that. I don't actually think that this is that much faster, though. I think this equation didn't really take me that long. And if it's not a fraction, it really doesn't take that long. Like this one that we did right here took maybe what, like 2 minutes? And the more you practice it, the easier it gets. Speaking of practice, what a good segue. Okay, I want you to do, hang on because there's a lot up here. I don't want you to do all of them. I just want you to do one from each section. So pick any one that you want to do. So you will ultimately do 4 problems at your boards. Okay, one from each section. Some are easier, some are harder. All right, the first one's not always the easiest.
I know.
Yeah.